Welcome, TMK, to SNA's third podcast for 2022 school year. My name is Linda, and I go by she/they pronouns.
Hi, I am Kyle, and I go by any pronouns.
Hi guys, I'm Jaden. I go by she/her pronouns.
And I'm Hannah, and I also go by she/her pronouns.
Throughout this podcast, we will highlight all of our experiences and different perspectives when it comes to our identity as young women in today's society. These topics include pay equality, so the wage gap in sports and other occupations, gender roles, and various ways we can contribute to creating a more welcoming society.
Gender inequality, like many of the major injustices in our world, is merely a mistreatment of people with no rational bias that spawns from lack of experience, ignorance, a closed mindset, and ideologies that simply do not make any sense from a scientific, logical, or emotional perspective. Most of the time, misogyny, to be incredibly specific, is based on so-called tradition, and the stereotypes coupled with gender roles and women's rights far off in the past, back at a time when we weren't even allowed to vote. However, if you think back to a time far off in the past, everything was different, from the stock market, the size of families, to even the placement of our continents, thanks to Pangea. And that's not a negative thing. The entire point of moving forward into the future is to change and make improvements in not only our physical actions, but also our mindsets and beliefs. Change can be horrible, but change can also repair a broken society. And no matter its influence, change exists to make things different, shake things up. So the idea that we must continue to do things solely because it's how it's always been done is ridiculous. Which leads us into today's topic, the female perspective, personal versus future. First, though, I'll pass the floor to Kyle to give us a rundown of upcoming events at TL.
Currently at TL Kennedy, our yearbooks are on sale for $15. They'll be on sale until June, so make sure to get one as soon as possible. We hope that everyone has had a good March break. Currently, mask mandates are off. No one needs to wear masks, but please respect everybody. ELD had their first field trip. They went to Maple Sugar Bush. Hopefully, from now on, we can have more field trips like these in the future.
Yeah.
Now on to Hannah to introduce our daily segment.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of moderate some questions, and they focus on experiences, personal experiences, and those that you've heard from friends or other stories that you've heard. So, the first question is, have you or someone you know ever experienced discrimination against women, or what's another story you've heard about that's directed towards women and discrimination? What was your initial reaction, and how do you feel about the situation now? Floor is open to anyone.
So I come from an Asian household where my parents were very traditional in that they believed the stereotypical male and female roles where men were supposed to go out of the house, provide, go to work, and while females have to stay at home and do the cooking, do the cleaning, take after the kids, etc. So my mom back when she was in Vietnam, she was the main caretaker of the house. She had a lot of step siblings who were a lot younger than her, and because she was the only woman to be old enough and mature enough, she had to take care, and she had to take all those roles that her stepmother and her mother, who was dead, couldn't do. I also, because of her beliefs, she also projected them onto me, saying a lot of stuff that came from a traditional mindset. I was a very rowdy kid when I was little, and she would always say, "No, you are a young woman, a young girl. You need to be submissive, and you need to because being rowdy was for boys and men only." And I feel like that's a very big part of the mindset, specifically when it comes to a lot of Asian countries. They believe that women are supposed to stay in home, and they're supposed to be rather gentle, rather caring, overall just very submissive.
Yeah.
Smile and look pretty.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
How do you think that affected you, growing up?
Well, since I was born in Canada with a culture that was deviating away from that mindset that women always have to act pretty, be pretty, etc., I narrowly missed that kind of idea that I have to please people in a way that I must be gentle, I shouldn't really have a voice or a say or opinions, and just overall, I narrowly avoided it. I feel like if I were more closed off from a more westernized society, I think I would be a lot more adapted to that kind of standard that women have to be just kind of quiet and gentle and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'll introduce the next question that kind of goes along with this. Does anybody want to guess the pay gap between man and woman? This is kind of a depressing question, but
Well, we all know for a fact it's less. I'm gonna guess like 75 cents.
You're really close. Women earn 82 cents for every dollar a man earns. So that's not good.
Yeah.
That makes life so easy for them, especially with all the other lack of rights.
Yeah, and
boy.
everything, all the extra things we have to pay for.
Mm.
Oh,
That
let's
could
not
be
get
a whole
started.
other topic.
Yeah, we can all go on about that.
Yeah, so then a question, like, our pay gap has been built into our society. What other areas of life has discrimination against women been built into our society? Kind of like what Linda was saying, how we were raised, but what else? Like, I have an example of in sports, something that really gets me mad is the different sizes of sports equipment. Like, I really like football, so learning how to throw a football the size that you're actually supposed to throw is huge, because they were originally sized for men, and men are built differently than us, and they're bigger, so their hands are bigger, and then they can throw a bigger football, so they have a bigger size. So the standard size is bigger, and that makes it harder for us, and that's the same with, like, everything
And
else.
I like to acknowledge the fact that they're scientifically stronger and bigger and all that, but then they don't change things to make it easier for us.
Exactly. See, that's something that really upsets me. Anyone else?
It's only what works for them.
Exactly. Or something else I found when I did some research was cars. You know how they're built, they were tested originally seatbelts on men.
Mm.
So there's like so many statistics that say women are more likely to get hurt or die in a car crash because of where the seatbelts are, because of where the seat is positioned. And I think that's really annoying. Something that I like that they've kind of used to fix that, though, is in these new cars, you can have key systems where if you have a different set of keys than whoever else drives the car, it'll initially change the seat for you.
Oh, that's interesting.
At
Yeah.
least we're moving forward.
I had no idea that existed.
Yeah.
Related to what we were trying to avoid before, the idea around women's health products, I feel like those should be free. They're health products. Like, how
Yeah,
do you
for
survive
sure.
without them? Like, especially women in developing countries. They have no access to them. They're super expensive. And if we don't have them, then we're blamed for whatever happens because of that. It just makes life really difficult for everyone.
Well, what I've always said to other people is toilet paper is free in public places. So,
It should be the same thing.
it should be
Yeah.
the same thing.
We shouldn't have a machine that you have to pay for.
That's a really good comparison, Kyle. Yeah. Yeah, that's really annoying. I know, like, even last year, New Zealand made women's menstrual products, like,
Europe's
Wait.
actually doing well for feminism.
right? I'm like, if
In a
they can
general
figure
sense,
it
yeah.
out, can't we figure it out? Like, that annoys me.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember when I first got my period during like middle school, and I remember trying to like find like they only sell in those like if they do have a machine that dispenses out
It's one size.
yeah, it's one size, and
Yes.
also it's only tampons. So if you're not comfortable with tampons, then you're out of luck. And also if you don't have 25 cents, you're also out of luck. So
Yeah. Something else that makes me upset about this whole, like, I think that relates back to, like, Linda's thing about society and culture. You know, we get trained, like, when you're on your period or whatever, you'll get, like, cramps and stuff. And we've been trained to, like, just go to school with this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
It's like, if you were bleeding that much out of your body anywhere else, you would be in a hospital.
And
Yeah.
also, there's the misogynistic point that whenever you're upset, it's because you're on your period.
Oh my
Oh.
god.
I cannot, it makes my blood boil.
Fun fact that I learned semi-recently, your uterus can crush a can.
Wow.
That's
Oh
how
my
much
God.
pressure is inside your body. And when I learned that, I'm like, next time some guy crushes a can to prove how strong he is, I'll just be like, I can do that too.
That's such a cool fact. Oh.
Another thing I wanted to mention is that when I first had my period, it was in the 5th grade, which means that I was still at an elementary school. And our elementary school did not sell pads nor tampons inside the bathrooms, and we also didn't have those, I don't know what they're called, they're like the trash bin things inside the
Oh,
stalls.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have those either. But I was in the 5th grade, and, you know, it was that time.
Yeah.
And so it was very, very hard for me, because there were no trash cans in the bathrooms, and I couldn't buy any. I would have to bring my whole bag into the bathroom with me. And
Oh.
it was a nightmare. But, you know, then I went to middle school, and things
And the
were
whole stigma
better.
behind having to hide it in general.
Yes!
Everyone
Yeah.
knows it's a thing. Why do we have to be shamed for it?
It's so stupid. It's like whenever we do it in health class, all the guys like freak out. It's like,
know.
it's a
It's
part of
blood.
life.
Like,
Like, we don't freak out when they talk about you guys. Like,
And they make like wise cracks and all these things, and we're just like, you can't handle, like, you can make dirty jokes, but you can't handle period talk. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
they're the same
align.
parts, people.
Exactly.
well, we just talked about the whole, like, period and tampon and pad thing, and so what I think is that, one, those should be offered in all schools,
Yep.
because, especially elementary schools, because a lot of kids start their period in the 5th grade or even the 4th, I've seen.
Yeah.
And it's I don't see why middle schools should have it, and high schools, in that, for that matter, if elementary schools don't.
And not only schools, like workplaces, like,
yes.
stores, shopping malls, like wherever you are, there should be free access. Because it can happen anytime.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
And also to add on, I know a lot of high school and middle school teachers, especially female teachers, always have like a bin, or like they always like express that they if you need like a tampon or a pad, they do have one and they can give it to you. But I've never seen like that being offered to elementary schools, which is wild to me, because that's when it starts, and I feel like that should definitely be
And that's when you're
expressed
most
more.
vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're exposed to it, it's going to be less of like a big deal than it is like right now. Like we make this huge deal out of it, but if they're exposed young, if we offer this stuff young, it's going to...
Especially in elementary school, where that's when you're also like the most embarrassed about it. Because why are you going to ask a teacher if you're like, oh, but I'm too young for this, I shouldn't be asking anyone.
Yeah.
And I also think that health classes should be taught a little bit earlier. Like, not some of the more like sexual health stuff, but definitely more about like, you know, periods and growth and stuff like that. I feel like that should be taught much earlier, because it's not something that we should hide from kids. It's something that everyone needs to know about. Everybody goes through it, and if kids are inappropriate about it, they're inappropriate about it anyways. There's no changing that.
Like, they give parents the option to opt their kids out of it for certain
Yeah.
lessons, but I'm like, I feel like kids in our day and age are the most, like, more normalized to it. They're more exposed to it. Like, we're okay about learning about this stuff. It's the stigma that our parents and everybody else has taught us that makes it weird.
But something I've never understood is why parents won't teach their kids about something that is so important to growing
I don't know
up.
why it has to be such an awkward thing.
Yeah, because it's not supposed to be an awkward thing.
Yeah,
It's life.
Exactly.
I personally don't like how they give the option to opt kids out of it, because it's such an important thing to learn about, like, especially for young girls, because if they don't know that, I knew this one girl who did not have any sexual education whatsoever. She knew nothing about it, and she was very naive, and she was very gullible as well, because there would be a lot of like boys and girls like snickering, like, oh, you don't know this or that, and it's just like she was naive to the point that I worried that someone
Would take advantage of it.
take advantage of her, and that's really scary, especially in a day like this, you know. So,
and related to that, this kind of throws back to the first question. Because people are so worried about that exact thing, a lot of the time women are also forced to stay at home instead of so-called walking the streets, because they're scared something's going to happen to us, but it stops us from doing so much.
my last point is that I feel like men should also be educated on women's like health products, so like
100%
pads and
agree, and just women in general.
Yeah,
Like, we
just women in
better
general,
get to
because
each
like
other. I think that's how we fix this. We need better mindsets. We need to talk more.
I just wanted to say, I remember a long time ago, I was very young, but, probably 10 or 11, and I was watching some show on TV where it was about a guy who, like, you know, hoards and uses coupons to buy everything and doesn't spend any money, he just collects coupons, and he had, like, a whole wall that was full of shelves that were just pads. And for one, he had no women in his life.
Oh my god.
His mom did not live with him. He did not have a girlfriend or a wife. He didn't have a fiance. He had no siblings. He had no children. It was just him. And he had this whole wall. And he goes, I don't know why I have any of these. I bought them because I had the coupons for them and I needed to spend them. And
those could have gone to
so many other people.
Oh my God.
And he even said, oh, well, this one says it has wings on it. I don't know what that means. And I looked at this, and I'm like, I'm 10 years old. I know what that means. And you, an adult male, probably in his 20s, maybe in his 30s, you don't know what that does.
Yeah, it's just absurd how...
It's absurd.
Yeah, they should definitely know about that, because...
That's just like the education system
Yeah.
is so broken.
Right.
What that
And in
means.
so many ways, it's not just this. But that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, and I don't think we have enough time for that in
No, we
today's
do not.
episode of our podcast,
No.
but
Maybe in the future.
maybe another future, yes.
And,
podcast.
and with that concludes our podcast. We wish you guys a great day. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.